Hello, I'm Kevin Quinn, and I'll be reading two passages from episode 10, Wandering Rocks. Mr. Bloom turned over idly pages of the awful disclosure of Maria Monk, then of Aristotle's masterpiece. Crooked, botched print, plates, infants cuddled in a ball, and blood-red wombs like livers of slaughtered cows. Lots of them like that at this moment, all over the world, all buttoned with their skulls to get out of it. Child born every minute somewhere. Mrs. Purifoy. He laid both books aside and glanced at the third, Tales of the Ghetto, by Leopold von Schacker-Massich. That I had, he said, pushing it by. The shopman let two volumes fall on the counter. Them are two good ones, he said. Onions of his breath came across the counter out of his ruined mouth. He bent to make a bundle of the other books, hugged them against his unbuttoned waistcoat, and bore them off behind the dingy curtain. On O'Connell Bridge, many persons observed the grave deportment and gay apparel of Mr. Dennis J. McGeaney, professor of dancing, etc. Mr. Bloom alone looked at the titles. Fair Tyrants by James Love Birch. Know the kind that is. Had it? Yes. He opened it. Thought so. A woman's voice behind the dingy curtain. Listen, the man. No, she wouldn't like that much. Got her at once. He read the other title. Sweets of Sin. More in her line. Let us see. He read where his finger opened. All the dollar bills her husband gave her were spent in the stores on wondrous gowns and costliest frillies. For him. For Raoul. Yes, this here, try. Her mouth glued on his in a luscious, voluptuous kiss, while his hands felt for the opulent curves inside her deshabillé. Yes, take this. The end. You are late, he spoke harshly, eyeing her with a suspicious glare. The beautiful woman threw off her sable-trimmed wrap, displaying her queenly shoulders and heaving embonpoint. An imperceptible smile played round her perfect lips as she turned to him calmly. Mr. Bloom read again. The beautiful woman. Warmth showered gently over him, cowing his flesh. Flesh yielded amply amid rumpled clothes, whites of eyes swooning up. His nostrils arched themselves for prey. Melting breast ointments for him, for Raoul. Armpits oniony sweat, fish gluey slime, her heaving embonpoint. Feel, press, crushed sulphur dung of lions. Young, young. An elderly female, no more young, left the building of the Courts of Chancery, King's Bench, Exchequer, and Common Pleas, having heard in the Lord Chancellor's Court the case in lunacy of Potterton, in the Admiralty Division the summons ex parte motion of the owners of the Lady Carnes versus the owners of the bark Mona in the Court of Appeal reservation of judgment in the case of Harvey versus the Ocean Accident and Guarantee Corporation. Phlegmy coughs shook the air of the bookshop, bulging out the dingy curtains. The shopman's uncombed gray head came out, and his unshaven, reddened face, coughing. He raked his throat rudely, puked phlegm on the floor. He put his boot on what he had spat, wiping his sole along it, and bent, showing a raw-skinned crown, scantily haired. Mr. Bloom beheld it. I'll take this one. The shopman lifted eyes, bleared with old rheum. Sweets of Sin, he said, tapping on it. That's a good one. Stephen Dedalus watched through the webbed window the lapidary's fingers prove a time-dulled chain. Dust webbed the window and the show trays. Dust darkened the toiling fingers with their vulture nails. Dust slept on dull coils of bronze and silver, lozenges of cinnabar on rubies, leprous and wine-dark stones. Born all in the dark wormy earth, cold specks of fire, evil lights shining in the darkness, where fallen archangels flung the stars of their brows. Muddy swine snouts, hands root in root, gripe and rest them. She dances in the foul gloom where gum bums with garlic. A sailorman, rust-bearded, sips from a beaker rum and eyes her. A long and sea-fed silent rut. She dances, capers, wagging her sowest haunches and her hips on her gross belly flapping a ruby egg. Old Russell, with a smeared chamois rag burnished again his gem, turned it and held it at the point of his Moses beard. Grandfather ape, gloating on a stolen hoard. And you who wrest old images from the burial earth, the brain-sick words of sophist, Antisthenes, a lore of drugs, orient and immortal wheat standing from everlasting to everlasting. Two old women, fresh from their whiff of the briny, trudged through Iriston along London Bridge Road, one with a sanded-tired umbrella, one with a midwife's bag in which 11 cockles rolled. The whir of flapping leathern bands and hum of dynamos from the powerhouse urged Stephen to be on. Beingless things, stop. Throb always without you, and the throb always within. Your heart you sing of, I between them, where? Between two roaring worlds where they swirl, I shatter them one and both, but stun myself too in the blow. Shatter me, you who can. Bawd and butcher were the words. I say, not yet a while. Look around. Yes, quite true. Very large and wonderful, and keeps famous time. You say right, sir. A Monday morning 'twas so indeed. Stephen went down Bedford Row, the handle of the ash clacking against his shoulder blade. In Clahissy's window, a faded 1860 print of Heenan boxing Sayers held his eye. Staring backers with square hats stood round the roped prize ring. The heavyweights in tight loincloths proposed gently each to other his bulbous fists. And they are throbbing, heroes' hearts. He turned and halted by the slanted book cart. "Tuppence each," the huckster said. "4 for 6 pence." Tattered pages. The Irish Beekeeper. Life and Miracles of the Cure of Ars. Pocket Guide to Killarney. I might find here one of my pawned school prizes. Stefano Dedalo, alumno optimo palmam ferente. Father Conmee, having read his little hours, walked through the hamlet of Donnycarney, murmuring vespers. Binding too good, probably. What is this? Ain't the 9th book of Moses? Secret of all secrets? Seal of King David? Thumbed pages, read and read. Who has passed here before me? How to soften chopped hands. Recipe for white wine vinegar. How to win a woman's love? For me, this. Say the following talisman 3 times with hands folded. Se'el ilion abracada femininum. Amor mi solo. Sanctus. Amen. Who wrote this? Charms and invocations of the most blessed Peter. Solanka abbot, to all true believers divulged. As good as any other abbot's charms, as mumbling Joachim's. Down, baldy noddle, or we'll wool your wool. What are you doing here, Stephen? Dilly's high shoulders and shabby dress. Shut the book quick. Don't let's see. "What are you doing?" Stephen said. A Stuart face of none such Charles, lank locks falling at its sides. It glowed as she crouched feeding the fire with broken boots. I told her of Paris, late lie-a-bed under a quilt of old overcoats, fingering a pinchbeck bracelet, Dan Kelly's token. Nebracada femininum. "What have you got there?" Stephen asked. "I bought it from the other cart for a penny," Dilly said, laughing nervously. "Is it any good?" "My eyes, they say she has. Do others see me so? Quick, far and daring, shadow of my mind?" He took the coverless book from her hand, Chaudenel's French primer. "What'd you buy that for?" he asked. "To learn French?" She nodded, reddening and closing tight her lips. "Show no surprise. Quite natural." "Here," Stephen said. "It's all right. Mind Maggie doesn't pawn it on you. I suppose all my books are gone." "Some," Dilly said. "We had to. She is drowning. Agenpite. Save her. Agenpite. All against us. She will drown me with her eyes and hair. Lank coils of seaweed hair around me. My heart. My soul. Salt green death. We. Agenbite of Inwit. Inwit's Agenbite. Misery. Misery. Happy Bloomsday from the Rosenbach.